Hey there, Jerry Bears. I'm excited. Excited for what exactly? I'm excited for the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct happening on April 2. I know many of you are also very excited for the Nintendo Direct happening pretty soon. And by pretty soon, I mean in less than 3 days now. So I thought I would just make a quick little video, which will probably not be quick, talking about 25 of my most bold, most thought-provoking, most out there predictions, because somebody has to, and nobody else is making Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2 prediction videos, so I have to fill in that void. But before we actually go off into that list of crazy bold predictions, first a tiny retrospective. What a journey it's been for the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo as a whole. Through the aftertaste of the Wii U, Nintendo's company first, consumer second policies, and some extremely rough ports, Nintendo's managed to craft out a system that I'm sure, years and years down the line, much of its 150 million plus user base will look back fondly on. The rumors and rumblings of an upgraded Switch model were aplenty during the Nintendo Switch 1 generation, and although these never truly came into fruition, all of that will soon be but a glimmer in the rear view as we approach the coming next generation of Nintendo hardware, the Nintendo Switch 2. So, what are we expecting for the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct? And by we, I mean me, the Jer Bear, the Jer Papa, and you, the Jer Cubs, suckling on the teats of knowledge that is my brain. To start off with, we're going to talk about launch pricing and release. My very first prediction actually relates to the launch price of the Nintendo Switch 2. I predict this system will probably launch with a $399.99 launch price, but that does come with an asterisk. The asterisk that I'm adding in is that there will be another SKU at launch, perhaps one at $449.99 or even $499.99. Now, when it comes to what that other SKU could be, it could be absolutely anything. It could literally be one with a game included. It could be one that comes with a mouse. It could be one that comes with a Pro Controller. It could be one that just costs more because Nintendo needs more money from you. Who knows? But for the sake of brevity, I will just put down that $399.99 is going to be my prediction for the launch pricing. Sticking with the idea of launch, I am going to predict that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to launch within the window of May 10th to June 15th. I do imagine it'll be less than 3 months before the Nintendo Switch 2 actually launches. I know it seems like a short amount of time, but I do believe it'll probably be a launch that seems closer than it should be, especially if it is an early May launch. The May 10th to June 15th dates are just an amalgamation of all the different little rumors and potential leaks of release dates that I've heard, leading up to the Nintendo Direct. So May 10th to June 15th, that's my window of potential opportunity for Nintendo to launch the Nintendo Switch 2, which, it does seem like it is very soon, but I don't know. I keep thinking, hey, maybe Nintendo is just confident that it's a sequel system. It'll probably sell extremely well, regardless of when they actually put it out. I do think they're probably going to aim to put it out before holidays, and probably before fall, because I think if they were to release it in fall, with their supply chain and how that sort of that whole thing happens, I think they would probably want to anticipate selling a lot in the summer, restocking and reshelving units, and then for the holiday season, fall season, having a lot more Nintendo Switch 2s out there for people to buy. But that's just my guess, that's my prediction. But yeah, let's continue on with the rest of my epic predictions. I sort of already alluded to this with my $399.99 launch price, but I do believe there will be 2 SKUs at launch. but maybe a version with a game, maybe something that comes with extra accessories. But the one thing that I'm hoping that it's not is an SKU with one Nintendo Switch 2 having a larger internal storage. I'm just a little bit against the idea of having an SKU with larger internal storage, mainly because coming from the Wii U days where we had the, I think it was 8 GB white Wii U versus the 32 GB black Wii U. That was kind of like a weird scenario in which, why would you buy the white Wii U versus the black Wii U when the black Wii U also got you Nintendo Land, got you a bunch of extra peripherals for the actual system itself, in terms of like console stands and things like that. To me, it just never made sense to have two versions with different internal storages, but hopefully they'll all start off with the base, 256 or 512. 512 I'm hopeful for, but 256 I think is a little bit more realistic in terms of how Nintendo sort of wants to price this thing. And with my last prediction in relation to the actual launch timing, release window, things like that, I predict that the pre-order window will open up a week after the presentation finishes. I know a lot of people expect the pre-orders to pretty much open up right after the presentations finish, and honestly, if it does happen, great. I'll probably try and get in line online, but I do hope that they are able to create a better system in terms of, hey, pre-orders online for Nintendo Online members, that type of thing. Because all I know is for when the pre-orders actually do go live and the system itself goes live, it's going to be pretty much impossible to get a pre-order. Alright, well, with all of the launch pricing, release window, boring stuff like that out of the way, let's talk about the features I think they'll actually talk about during the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. First feature I would like for them to talk about is actually micro SD express cards. I would love for them to talk about how the Nintendo Switch 2 can fully take advantage of the upgraded speeds on micro SD express cards, talk about how they allow for faster load times, faster opening of games and things like that, and probably the biggest benefit of them all, I'm hoping, is faster downloading of games. Because if you have a Nintendo Switch right now, you may notice that despite the fact that you may have a very solid Wi-Fi or even Ethernet setup, downloading games from the eShop to your Nintendo Switch can still take a really long time. Now, this is more than likely based off of a combination of the actual Switch OS, the RAM of the Switch itself, and the actual mini SD cards that we're using, but I'm really hoping that micro SD Express, they're able to showcase how that might be able to do, a lot of things that the Switch 1 could do, but better. I'm not expecting, any kind of comparisons. I don't think Nintendo is really in the business of comparing any of their systems, unless it's for like sizing. But in terms of like performance and actual speeds of like loading times, I don't know if I'm expecting to see like a graph or like a, hey, look at these two Nintendo Switches, look how fast this one opens up, and then look how slow this one opens up. If they do showcase that, I really hope they show New Horizons, because New Horizons, as you may know, has very long loading times, and hopefully we're able to see some of that in action come the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Speaking of seeing things in action, here's something that we have sort of seen in action: MouseCon mode. So if you're not familiar with what MouseCon potentially is, it's essentially where the Joy-Cons themselves have a optical sensor, just like mice do, and essentially what they potentially have showcased to us is that the Joy-Cons can be put onto their sides and used just like a mouse. And if you've actually done it yourself, it's not the worst feeling mouse experience in the world. Obviously, it's not any better than an actual mouse itself, but I do think in terms of gaming, when you're out and about, or maybe you're on tabletop mode and you just needed like a mouse to use, this is probably not the worst idea. But yeah, I would love for them to showcase it. Probably a showcase of how it works on the UI, and probably a showcase of it in a game. And what better way than to show mouse mode or mouse con mode off a Joy-Con than with a shooter? Could it be, a Splatoon spin-off? Is that a spoiler for my predictions? Maybe. Could it be Call of Duty? Is that another spoiler? Maybe. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be showcased at the actual event. And you know what? I think there's probably going to be a little bit more to it than we were expecting. I feel like it's not just going to be slide around, left click, right click. Maybe it'll be more. I've heard rumors that, these are going to be capacitive and you can use that as like a scroll button. I don't know anything about that. That part to me seems kind of like they won't give us analog triggers, but they'll give us rubbable, But yeah, I predict there will be some technological tomfoolery with the new Joy-Cons and their trigger and shoulder buttons. Speaking of technological tomfoolery, backwards compatibility. I think during the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, they're going to be talking about, first of all, how Nintendo's backwards compatibility work. Will it be paid? Will it be a free blanket upgrade over all Nintendo Switch 1, titles? Or is it going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition? Why am I still holding my Joy-Con? Or will it be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition title for, a lot of the Nintendo Switch 1 games? Personally, I think it's going to be a matter completely decided by the developers / publishers, whether or not they want to do hey, here's a free upgrade patch for Nintendo Switch 1 owners over to Nintendo Switch 2, or what might be one of the more common cases where we might have to pay $5 or $10 for an upgrade path. I mean, we've seen this happen for both PlayStation and Xbox, where, for PlayStation, I believe it's like $5 to $10 to get like the PS5 version of PS4 games. But on Xbox, it's essentially blanket backwards compatibility for a lot of their old Xbox 360 and even Xbox One games. So yeah, I think they'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And honestly, I hope that it is like a kind of blanket overall patch system. And if a developer or a publisher feels so inclined to add in extra features or make it a more modern version, I would absolutely love that. My main idea of it is, if there's a game that was not frame locked to 30 FPS, but essentially it was stuck at 30 FPS, but now with the Switch 2 we can go up to 60 FPS, and all they need to do is like an update or just flip a switch and it'll do 60 FPS. Great, just do it that way. But with things like Mortal Kombat 1 or even Witcher 3, very rough very rough ports. I think for those, if they wanted to do like a dedicated patch and be like, hey, now it looks just like the PS4 / Xbox Series S version of these games, that would be great. Here's an interesting one, because it has to do more so with something that has also been extremely heavily rumored. The top USB-C charging port is just for charging. Maybe. My idea is that the top USB-C charging port is not just for charging. I think it's going to be used for cool little accessories, I mean, I hope they're cool accessories. One of the big kind of accessories a lot of people have been predicting, which I don't fully buy into, is like a second monitor for the Switch when it's in handheld mode, which I don't think that's the case. I think it would start to become way too heavy to be justified. And also, if this was for the Nintendo Switch 2's NSO, with Nintendo DS compatibility or whatever. I don't know if Nintendo would really want you to blow up Nintendo DS games on a screen that big 2 times. Yes, it would make sense. It would look like, whoa, look, it's like I'm actually playing on Nintendo DS. But like, I don't know. I feel like it would just look weird. I mean, if you are familiar with playing Nintendo DS games on new 3DS XL, you may see that it doesn't look as good as if you were just playing on a system that had a dedicated resolution for it already. I don't know. I don't know. But I do think that the top USB-C charging port is not just for charging, and I would not be surprised if Nintendo popped up with like an accessory, like be it a microphone, be it like a weird camera or something during the Direct, just to showcase like, hey, here's what we're doing with it right now, but developers, it's completely up to you what you guys want to do with it, that kind of thing. Just a few quick ones, so that way we can sort of knock them out for you real quick. Ray tracing showcase. I don't think they're going to officially say ray tracing. I don't think they're going to, spend a few minutes on it being like, hey, look at Mario's ray traced ass. I don't think they're going to do that. But I do think with the games that we will see and the showcase of games, there's going to be ray traced heavily shown, and from there we will understand the capabilities of ray tracing on the Nintendo Switch 2. Speaking of things that I don't think they'll specifically call out, this one they may call out specifically because they may call it something entirely of their own creation, but I'm calling it Nintendo DLSS. Put that up there, Nintendo DLSS. Yes. So I think during the Nintendo Direct there will probably be a section where they'll be like, hey, look at this cool technology NVIDIA is like mastered, and they've put it into our system so that way we can have like a super tiny resolution game be blown up to 4K. Whoa, and everyone will go crazy. Will they call it Nintendo DLSS? I hope so, because if they do, I may be able to sue for loyalty, or sue for royalty, and I don't know how tough Nintendo's lawyers are, but I am prepared to defend myself in a court of law. Here's another fun prediction, probably just a random tidbit, just a random throwaway, but I do think we'll see a hardware showcase video. For all of Nintendo's system unveilings, one of my favorite things that they've always done for any of these new system launches or new, Switch Lite or Switch OLED editions is they've done a kind of hardware showcase video where it's it feels in a way a little bit like Apple or like a CES kind of like showcase of technology, but essentially they just do like a quick little, we're scanning all over the system and we're showcasing all the cool buttons and sticks like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a hardware showcase video. Hopefully they are able to, I don't know, if they name drop some actual numbers in there, if they're like, 12 gigabytes of RAM, ooh, or 256 gigabyte SSD, ooh, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the hardware showcase video. And I hope we get to see confirmation of Joy-Con and Pro Controller backwards compatibility. This one I'm pretty confident we'll see. I don't think Nintendo would cut out all of the past Joy-Con, owners, or even past Pro Controller owners, as we go into the Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously, with the caveat of understanding, like, yes, not all of the new features will be available on old Joy-Cons or old Pro Controllers, if there are even any new features. But I would love it if they were just like, yep, you can play with your old Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, your old Pro Controllers, and old Bluetooth controllers that you've already garnered for your Nintendo Switch 1. And speaking of using your old Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons and potentially even your old Nintendo Switch entirely, the next prediction I have is that we get to see the Sea. that mysterious C button has finally been mistakenly, I think, unveiled by Nintendo. If you look online on things like Nintendo Today, on their new social media app thing, they've actually released a render of the Nintendo Switch 2 with that C button fully engraved now. If you remember, during the actual Nintendo Switch 2 trailer, that little button under the home button was actually just like a square, and for some reason during the entire render, whoa, all that clicking and stuff they did, it was not engraved with the letter C, which we have sort of seen through leaks, but now they're just kind of putting it out there that there is a letter C on there. I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of weird that they held off on showcasing that C button for, as long as they did. Yes, I know, like, they don't probably care about, like, the amount of people that have seen the leaks, but it was also, like, why hide it in the first place when you were just gonna showcase it kind of, unceremoniously, just like this. And the last feature that I am hoping to see for the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct is a new Pro Controller. I just want to see the new Pro Controller essentially because I love the original Nintendo Switch 1 Pro Controller. I think it's one of the most comfortable controllers that I've ever used. It doesn't have analog triggers, which really sucks, but I think through that it also makes up for it with having really good gyro and just having nice, meaty buttons and a nice grip. It's grippy. Yes. But I do want to see what the new Pro Controller revision will look like. And also I'm very interested if they're going to do anything with MouseCon mode with the Pro Controllers. I know there were a few, I think, patents or maybe, leaks, or everything kind of blends together. But I remember there was this one patent where essentially somebody had a Pro Controller and they split it in half and you were still able to use it like a regular, like, mouse, like, imagine me using this and like, oh, I'm surfing the web, I don't know. I don't think that would be comfortable, but I do want to see the new Switch Pro Controller and I want to see it being used in a variety of ways. Now, let's talk about the most important set of predictions, games. The first game that I have up for a official Jer Bear Jerdiction is Tekken 8 Deluxe Edition. That's right, I'm locking it in. I think Tekken 8 will be there. I think Bandai Namco was there too much for the last Nintendo Switch Direct. If you remember, there was like 4 or 5 Bandai Namco games and they're all like, oh yeah, Bandai Namco, blah, whatever. No, I think they were building up for Tekken 8 Deluxe Edition because Nintendo and Bandai Namco love each other. So yeah, I think Tekken 8 Deluxe Edition with all the currently released DLC will be at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Boom! Next prediction be upon ye. Cyberpunk 2077 Deluxe Edition. The one with like the Phantom Liberty. This will probably be their visual showcase game, which is another note, by the way. I was watching the Spawncast and somebody asked, oh, do you think they'll do like a comparison between a Switch or a Switch 2 or even a Switch 2 to like a PS4 or an XS, no, I don't think that they'll be doing that like at all, but I think the games that we'll see will serve to be that indicator. I think if we see Cyberpunk 2077 running at like 60 or maybe even 30 frames per second, and it looks really good, has ray tracing, and it's running like solid, I think that should be all that people sort of need to see in order to sort of gauge like, okay, is this a capable enough system? Now, granted, it may not be Cyberpunk 2077 for many folks to actually, determine whether or not the Nintendo Switch 2 is a capable system, but I feel like there will be a game at the actual Direct that will tell people like, yes, this is a capable system. Next up, Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's the newest title, right? Yeah. Ubisoft's newest Assassin's Creed, which actually seems not that bad. I feel like a lot of people are actually liking it. I feel like will definitely show up at the Direct, and I don't know. I feel like Ubisoft will probably go out there to be like, hey, we love Nintendo. We're going to support them so much. Here's Assassin's Creed Shadows. Here's Mario and Rabbids. here's Splinter Cell. Here's Rainbow Six Siege. Whatever the like the new like updated thing is. Rainbow Six Siege X. Yes, Rainbow Six Siege X on the Switch too. Wow. Yeah, I think they'll be. I mean, they probably won't have the guy come out, Yves. I don't think he'll be out there, but I think they'll definitely maybe have like a sizzle reel of a bunch of Ubisoft's title moving over. Far Cry, I'll take a Far Cry too. If y'all got any more of those Far Crys back there, I'll take a Far Cry. Here's a good one, if I do say so about my own predictions. Monster Hunter Wilds will not be there. This is one title that I desperately hope to be wrong about. I would love if Monster Hunter Wilds popped up on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that would be cool. I think that would be epic. But I also understand that the game in its current state right now probably isn't going to be the easiest port job for Capcom or honestly any porting team that they decide to hire. I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds right now and I absolutely love the game. But I do see where a lot of people are coming from when they say that the game can just absolutely challenge, even the best systems. So I do think that Monster Hunter Wilds will pop up on the Nintendo Switch too. Maybe eventually. But my hopes are up. I hope that we'll see it down the line, or whatever Capcom decides to do in terms of a Monster Hunter game on the Nintendo Switch 2, because obviously I think they are going to do a dedicated Nintendo Switch 2 Monster Hunter. I hope that it is to the point where Capcom's fully utilizing the system and they are making the most out of the actual system's power. But yeah, I hope Monster Hunter Wilds is there, but I'm also predicting it to just straight up not be there at all, because I feel like that would probably be the Nintendo Switch 2's first miracle impossible port. Here's something that I am pretty confident in being there, and that is Xbox. I feel like Xbox will be there. Their support will be in full effect as Microsoft continues, spreading the influence of Xbox to more gamers, whether they be on PlayStation, PC, Nintendo Switch at this point. I think we'll be seeing Microsoft support for Nintendo Switch 2 pretty much right out the gate. I think we'll be seeing things like Halo, Forza, Doom, Call of Duty especially. But the one thing I do want to see specifically, I want to see South of Midnight. South of Midnight looks really good. It looks really cool. I love the art style. I want to see South of Midnight pop up on the Switch too. And I want it to just be like hey, since South of Midnight's coming out next week, I think it would be cool to just sort of have it as a launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2. Speaking of launch titles, Mario Kart 9 or 10, it's going to be a launch title. Maybe it won't be called Mario Kart 9 or 10. X sounds cool, Mario Kart X. But I think it'll be shown as a launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I think it's going to look quite a bit better than what we originally saw. Probably not better in terms of whoa, the graphics look so much better, but probably hey, instead of just showcasing a desert, a desert with absolutely no vegetation, no chance for dynamic shadows, we'll actually do a visual showcase of the variety of tracks and things like that in the game. So yeah, I think Mario Kart 9 or 10 or X will show up and it'll be a launch title for the system. I alluded to this earlier, but I do think there will be a Splatoon spin-off. I think it's way too early for Splatoon 4, or at least that's what Splatoon fans are telling me. But I think there's opportunity for a Splatoon spin-off, especially when it comes to MouseCon mode. I think if they were to showcase that and be like, hey, look, new Joy-Cons still have gyro control, but you can also use MouseCon mode if that's more, to your liking for this type of game. But yeah, I think there should be a Splatoon spin-off showcased, especially as Splatoon, steadily rises up to be one of Nintendo's main kind of IPs. Speaking of the IPs, here's a bonus prediction. Bonus. I think there will be a new IP showcased at the Nintendo Direct. What the IP could be, I don't know. This is just a bonus prediction. I don't have to go into detail. But yeah, I think there will be a brand new IP at the Nintendo Direct, and I think it'll be awesome. Probably it'll be really cool. Probably it'll be awesome and cool. Probably. Speaking of things that are awesome and cool, probably Mario Paint. Mario Paint has been a title that a lot of people have been requesting ever since the idea of a MouseCon mode has popped up, particularly because Mario Paint worked really well with the SNES mouse back then, if you know of that. But yeah, I think Mario Paint with the MouseCon mode would be a really nice pack-in title. I don't know if Nintendo is very much interested in doing pack-in titles anymore, but if they were to do a pack-in title, or at least just like a quick little pack-in software, I hope that it's Mario Paint, because I think that's a really easy way for people to get accustomed to the idea of using their Joy-Cons as mice. And I think from there, they can start to understand how it works with like other games. Right, and speaking of getting people accustomed to MouseCon, what better way than to give them a good game to get accustomed with MouseCon? And that good game is Kid Icarus Uprising, either a remake or a sequel. Kid Icarus's unique control scheme has always been, I think, the biggest thing stopping them from being able to remaster the game. But I feel like with this equally unique control scheme of the MouseCon mode, they would probably be able to figure out a way on how to actually make this, 3DS title that heavily relied on you holding your 3DS and holding the actual stylus, and figure out a way on how to make that work for the Nintendo Switch too. But I think that is probably going to be their, gateway into opening up more Nintendo 3DS or Nintendo DS titles that were more so reliant on touchscreen controls, thanks to Joy-Con's MouseCon mode. Speaking of emulating touchscreen controls, here's my next prediction for games. It's kind of like a subset, but I think DS NSO, DS PMO, but DS NSO, I think that is going to be something that we see during the Nintendo Direct. I think that the Joy-Con MouseCon mode, I don't know why I keep calling it Joy-Con MouseCon mode. I think the MouseCon mode will allow you to sort of more fluidly simulate sorry, Nintendo, the actual touchscreen controls that we may have had on the DS or 3DS titles. So yeah, I think with this Nintendo Direct, I do think that they'll talk about Nintendo Switch Online. One of the other things too is like, I think Nintendo will probably showcase the DS and GameCube for the Nintendo Switch Online during this Direct. I think they'll be like, yo, look at all this new stuff that we can do with the power of the Nintendo Switch 2, and then they'll showcase the DS and the GameCube as like a cool little freebie for people who are moving over with an active NSO membership, and also to entice obviously more people to get an NSO membership. But yeah, I think DS NSO makes a lot of sense, especially as this Joy-Con MouseCon mode could potentially allow us to do the stylus movements like a lot more fluidly, rather than taking the Switch out of its dock and using our fingers. or using gyro, because I feel like when they've used the gyro to emulate like pointer controls, hasn't been like the best. So I'm really hoping that like the new mouse-con mode just opens up the potential for them to actually be like, oh, actually we can do, you know, Nintendo DS on Nintendo Switch Online now. Speaking of Nintendo's old library, I do believe we will see a Nintendo Switch title remastered. Not remade, remastered. I believe that Nintendo will have a pretty big Switch title remastered for the Nintendo Switch 2. What title? Probably Breath of the Wild, probably Odyssey, probably 1-2 Switch. It could be anything. But I think to be absolutely safe, they're definitely going to aim for the safe choice of getting Breath of the Wild remastered in 4K 60 FPS. Part of me wishes that it's a Tears of the Kingdom remaster instead, but I figure that one, being much newer, will probably get it patched rather than actually, you know, getting it remastered again. Because then you might end up with a situation where it's like, hey, here's Last of Us, and then here's Last of Us remastered, and it's like, this is the same game, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm hoping that we see Breath of the Wild, or at least Odyssey, in 4K 60, just so that way we'll be like, whoa, it's like playing the games all over again. Because you're going to play the games all over again. I'm going to be playing the games all over again. I'm playing through my backlog all over again. I say as I haven't started my backlog, so whatever. Last game prediction, and this one will, this will require some suspension of belief. But here we go. Grand Theft Auto 5 or 6? All right, I know. Jeremy, you say, that's an extremely smart and brave and bold prediction. What did we do to deserve such a selfless man who'd be willing to put his career, nay, his life, on the line for such a prediction? Nothing. You've done nothing. I'm just extremely selfless and handsome and also humble. I am willing to predict that Grand Theft Auto 5 or 6 will show up on the system. Maybe not when Nintendo Switch 2 launches, maybe not even when GTA 6 launches, but eventually. If I were Rockstar and I were to see a console that could theoretically push itself to the Xbox Series S, aka the XS, levels of performance, and I see that this console has the potential to get even half of its predecessor's user base, aka 70 plus million, I would be very enticed to do a quick, yet good, port job of the biggest game in the world, ever. But that's just me. Only time can tell what ends up happening. It's not like Rockstar needs the Nintendo Switch 2 to succeed, and it's not like Nintendo needs GTA 6 for the Nintendo Switch 2 to succeed. And finally, one last prediction, and this is a very special prediction. It's one that starts at the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, but only ends when the actual generation does. In terms of first-party and third-party support, this will be Nintendo's crowning achievement. Now this, in all my humility and modesty, will admit, this is a pretty big claim. To many folks, the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo 3DS, or Nintendo DS could be seen as Nintendo at their best and Nintendo's partners at their full support. But I foresee a future in which the Nintendo Switch 2 will be a system that no longer is relegated to months or years later ports, or not even God forbid, I forbid, cloud ports. It's already going to have a pretty heavy head start with the backwards compatibility with Nintendo Switch 1 titles, but I hope that serves only as the basis for what can truly be achieved with this upcoming system. Alright, Editor Jeremy here. Before I actually show you my bingo card, I'm a little stupid. I admit it. Instead of doing a 25 prediction list video, I actually ended up doing 28 predictions. So on my bingo card, you'll see that at the very bottom, there's a thing that says reserve bingos. And obviously, that is a classic rule of bingo if you're familiar with old style bingo, where if a number isn't on your bingo card, but you have it in your reserves, you can just swap it out and you can still get a bingo. These are real rules, don't look them up. I'm the professional here. But yeah, just wanted to explain why, maybe if you were keeping count during this entire video, there were 28 predictions versus the 25. I got too excited, you know? Hey, sue me, Nintendo, you know? Sorry I'm so excited about your new device, and I decided to, you know, spill more of my brain than I should have. But yeah, that's why there's going to be a little thing at the very bottom that says Reserve Bingo. Thanks for understanding. Maybe next time we will, maybe we'll go bigger than 25. Who knows? Yeah, whatever. All right, well, thanks for listening to this. Thanks for understanding. Enjoy the rest of the video. Bye-bye. So here's my bingo card, and yes, you got me. You got me. I can never get anything past you, Jabez. I can't. I do have one item missing. On purpose. I know. I'm bad. I'm bad. Last item on my predictions, and the very deserving prediction for this last spot, is themes, baby. Themes, baby. Themes, baby. Yes. This is it. This is what Nintendo's been waiting for. The Nintendo Switch, I couldn't see it before, but now I understand with a heavy heart that the Nintendo Switch was far too weak to run any kind of themeage. But the Nintendo Switch 2, now this is the mean green theme machine that we needed to get all those good themes on the Nintendo Switch 2, baby. Well, Jer Bears, thank you very much for watching and spending the time to actually hear all of my crazy predictions on the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct happening on April 2. It's crazy to think that after all these years of hype, speculation, rumors, leaks, and delusions, it all comes down to April 2nd. And I guess when the actual system launches, but whatever. I hope that this generation brings us all the games that we've been hoping for, all the games that we've been wishing for, and most importantly, I hope that this generation brings us games that we are absolutely surprised by in the best of ways. I look forward to providing all of you Jer Bears with much more content in the future, and I hope you enjoy that as well. Be seeing you, Jer Bears. Bye-bye.